So a little bit of a shake-up in the welterweight division. Boots Ennis, Jarron Ennis, becomes the IBF mandatory for Errol Spence Jr. And this is a very interesting move by the IBF, because the mandatory was that Uzbekistani fella. His name, I'm not even going to try to pronounce it, but yeah, he was 18-0 or something like that, and he was the mandatory number 1 for Errol Spence. But he lost at the weekend to American Cody Crowler, who was also undefeated, and he lost a 12-round unanimous decision to Crowler after dropping him in the second round. But he ended up just falling apart and ended up getting beat up by the American fighter. So he loses that status now to become the mandatory challenger for Errol Spence Jr. And obviously number 2 in the IBF rankings was Sean Porter, but Sean Porter has now retired. So number 3 is Jarron Ennis. So basically he's next in line. So he has become the IBF mandatory challenger now for Errol Spence. So it's going to be interesting to see if Errol Spence takes that fight, because Jarron Ennis, you know, he's a young, hungry fighter at 147 pounds. He's been knocking guys out, you know, something like 28 wins and 26 knockouts, something crazy like that. So the guy's got power in both hands. He's very athletically gifted, in my opinion. He's aggressive. He's very sharp. One thing I could say about him that he does have a problem with sometimes is that he can get caught with a silly shot or two. But, you know, it's boxing. That stuff happens. But as you step up the levels and you're facing guys like Errol Spence Jr., you know, one punch can change a whole fight. So, you know, that is one thing he could improve on. But, you know, Jarron Ennis has definitely looked the goods so far in his career, and he's passed every step up with flying colours. His last fight being against veteran Thomas Delorme at 147 pounds. He stopped Delorme in 1 round. Before that, he got a decent win against Sergei Lipinets in 6 rounds. So, you know, he's been passing these tests with flying colours, and he's saying he's ready for these world champions now. He's ready for Bud Crawford. He's ready for Errol Spence, and he believes he's going to take these guys out. He's 24 years old, I believe Jarron Ennis, 23 or 24 years old. You know, so there's plenty of time for him to fight these champions. But are these champions going to fight somebody like Jarron Ennis? Because what do they get out of fighting somebody like Jarron Ennis? Like, what does Errol Spence get out of fighting Jarron Ennis? Because if he loses to Jarron Ennis, then his stock will just plummet. Errol Spence getting beat by a younger, hungry lion is going to, you know, lower his stock dramatically. But if he beats somebody like Jarron Ennis, then people are just going to say, oh, he was a young kid, he wasn't ready, etc., like they did when Jamel Charlo knocked out Erickson Lubin. Like, that was a very good win for Jamel Charlo, but looking back, a lot of people say, oh, you know, Lubin wasn't ready, he should have took the fight, even though he was mandatory because he wasn't ready for Jamel Charlo, and it showed in that fight. And Jamel Charlo didn't really get the credit when he knocked out Erickson Lubin. Could the same happen if Errol Spence fought Jarron Ennis? Because, you know, he's a guy, he hasn't really fought a top level guy yet in his pro career. He's beat some veterans like Lipinets, like Delorme. So, you know, stepping up to fighting somebody like Errol Spence Jr. is a big step. But where Jarron Ennis does have advantages over Errol Spence is that I think he's a lot quicker than Errol Spence. I think he's a lot more athletically gifted than Errol Spence. I think he might be a tad sharper than Errol Spence. The thing with Errol Spence is that he's very methodically good. He does a lot of basic fundamentals very well. He's very good with the jab. You know, he's very good to the body. Like, he's very good at controlling a fight, Errol Spence, and, you know, adapting as well. Because when he fought Sean Porter, he fought Sean Porter's fight, and he was adapting to the fight, and he was fighting Sean Porter at his own game. But against somebody like Jarron Ennis, who is very athletically gifted, you can't count these guys out, because they're young, they're fresh, you know, they feel like they're not even at their prime yet. So Errol Spence, you know, coming off the car crash a couple of years ago, he came back and fought Danny Garcia. He was meant to go into a massive fight with Manny Pacquiao, and obviously he had to pull out of that fight to a lot of criticism due to an eye injury. So we don't know if Errol Spence is 100% nowadays, because, you know, that car crash took a lot out of him. So it's going to be interesting to see if he does fight a young guy like Jarron Ennis, how he gets on with a guy like that, you know, who's coming for the throne. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if that fight happens. I don't think it will happen. I think Errol Spence won't see Jarron Ennis as somebody who deserves to fight him yet, even though he is the mandatory. I think he'll want a bigger fight than that. And hopefully he fights Terence Crawford, because that's what we all want, to see who the best welterweight in the world is. But a lot of people already say Jarron Ennis is the best welterweight in the world, even though he hasn't yet fought for a world title. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Comment below in the comment section. What do you guys think? I'm out.